MPT to serve all of our diverse communities and is made possible by the generous support of our members. Thank you. Live from Maryland Public Television, this is Direct Connection with Jeff Salkin.
Good evening. Welcome to your Direct Connection. Coming up tonight, we'll connect you to the transplant surgeon who was herself a transplant patient. And we'll take you to Baltimore's Martin Luther King Day Parade. But first tonight, the impeachment trial gets underway in the Senate tomorrow. The starkness of the political divide reflected on the weekend talk shows.
Those Republicans are really sweating it out right now because they don't want to look like they're covering up and they're restraining evidence from coming forward. That is not a good position to be in November of 2020 or in the history books going forward.
How badly were the Republicans hurt by voting unanimously to reject this impeachment in the House?
We've learned more since then.
This is
not about made a very good point.
Let Pat finish and then I'll come back.
This is not about appearances. It is about whether we're going to remove the President of the United States for this Mickey Mouse thing.
Well, the GAO made a very good point, and it's not Mickey Mouse, that the President cannot take it upon himself to redirect funds that have been authorized and, by Congress and sent for one purpose, and then to repurpose it behind everybody's back.
But do you throw out the President of the United States for doing that?
That was the McLaughlin Group, which is back lively as ever on public television stations. Joining us now from Washington is host Tom Rogan. Tom, thanks for being with us.
Good to be with you, Jeff. Thank you.
From your perspective there in Washington, is this just a completely binary case? People either see it as a major scandal or, as we just heard, Mickey Mouse.
Well, I do think that there is some nuance, but it's below the surface. So there are Republican senators like Lisa Murkowski, Susan Collins, who I think have more, Mitt Romney, who have more concerns about the president's conduct than others. But they have made a decision, and it seems to be holding at the moment, to unify themselves with the Senate majority, the Republican Senate majority. And so to the effectiveness of the vote, to the practical outcome, I think you are correct that it is a binary divorce between the two sides.
In the end, would you expect anyone on either side, not just Romney and Murkowski, but any Democrats to break ranks on either the question of witnesses or on the final vote?
You know, we talked about this on the show this weekend, and actually I think that it's unlikely. I think we're going to see the two caucuses unified. And part of that, I think, comes into the fact that we are in an election year now, and that actually senators, as much as they might have their own personal views, they do have I think, a determination to stick with the party, because ultimately they believe that is both in their own best interests, but also in the interests of the party at large.
And they're politicians, both sides. Everybody looks at the polls. What are the polls telling them?
Well, I think the polls are telling them that while there are independent voters, it's a way to go until November 2020. So those voters might not be so determined to vote on the impeachment issue as to other issues, the economy, healthcare, et cetera. And then, of course, the Republican Party membership very much in support of President Trump's position, which is that impeachment is illegitimate. And then Democrats on the flip side, very much in support of the idea of holding President Trump to account as they see it. So those members of Congress who are serving do not want to alienate their bases. That's a surefire thing. I think they assume that if they are to vote against the president's interests or for holding the president to account, regardless of how they see it, they will be jeopardizing their position with their party. So it's about keeping firm with the party loyalists, I think, is the watchword at the moment.
The president has added at the last minute some high-profile, well-known attorneys. Thoughts on that, and also over the course of the trial, whether they stick to the strategy of saying that this was a perfect phone call, nothing to see here, or what appears to be the fallback that, well, maybe it wasn't perfect, but doesn't rise to the level of removing a president.
Well, I think in terms of the celebrity name, Ken Starr, Alan Dershowitz in the president's defensive corner, that reflects an understanding on the part of the White House that this is ultimately the politics of pageantry as much as it is the politics of constitutional law. And so as they gear up for a robust 2020 campaign, I think they assume, the White House, that having these Dershowitz in particular, but Ken Starr as well, individuals who are confident on television, who have a media persona, that will help the president. I think in terms of the strategy, it will depend on what Democrats are able to bring to the table, how the legal campaign team evolves in the moment. But ultimately, I think we should expect President Trump to continue doubling down on at least his perfect narrative of perfection.
Number of Democratic senators are running for president would probably rather be in a cornfield in Iowa talking to three people than sitting silently, no iPhones, at their desk in the Senate for a week or two or whatever it's going to be. Well, what do you think is the impact on the campaign?
Well, I think, again, we are, of course, a way away from November 2020, but Democrats, as you note, have much more to gain or lose based on their presentation in this. So I think it will be interesting to see whether Senator Sanders or Senator Warren, Senator Klobuchar, make some kind of spectacle, some kind of statement, whether that be through leaving the room, body language, because they know there will be a lot of eyes on them, and they know there is an opportunity here, again, to persuade those voters at the margin in the Democratic primary that they are the one to hold President Trump to account and to replace him come November. So there's a lot of political opportunity there, even as much as there is not so much of an opportunity to make a commentary as the trial proceeds.
Let's talk about your program, the McLaughlin Group, for a moment. You worked with John McLaughlin. Your accents, I believe, are not entirely similar. Aside from that difference, the new show compared to the old show, what are you trying to do?
Well, yeah, so I'm a dual citizen, so I grew up in the UK. That's my accent. But in terms of the new show, I think what we're really trying to do, or certainly what I'm trying to do, is to, in this era of quite stark partisan disagreement, ensure that there is a degree of civility and friendliness, affection, quite frankly, between the panelists who profoundly disagree on these matters of great consequence, but at the end are able to come away as friends and to show forth and to try and ensure that actually it doesn't descend into kind of the shouting matches that we sometimes see on other shows. And so in that sense, perhaps the McLaughlin Group coming full circle, which was the original shouting show, perhaps being a show in which there is passionate disagreement, but from a condition of civility. And I think that's important. And certainly, I think our viewers appreciate that. They want to see that panelist who best reflects their views articulate those views in an eloquent and intellectually fastidious fashion. But they also want to, I think, see a degree of civility that unfortunately is too lacking in our media and political discourse.
So the program was ahead of the curve on shouting, and perhaps maybe let's hope that you're also ahead of the curve on adding a little bit of civility back into politics.
That's the hope, Jeff. That's the hope, yes.
Quick look at an email question. Why would anyone even bother to vote again if President Trump is not removed from office? I mean, it's okay, and I lost the rest of that. How closely do you think voters are paying attention to all this?
Well, I think voters at the extremes of both party, or at least the basis of both parties, are paying close attention to it. But I think ultimately, as reflected in some of the more national opinion polling, quite a lot of Americans have put this aside as a sort of secondary issue and are more concerned about things of foreign policy, the recent death of Qasem Soleimani, for example, the economy, healthcare, those traditional concerns. But for the party bases, it is hugely important. And to some degree, that makes it important for the 2020 candidates and those running for election in the Senate and House.
Tom Rogan joining us from Washington. Tom, thank you very much. The new McLaughlin Group airs Sunday mornings at 11 on MPT. And also a reminder that the PBS NewsHour team will have live coverage of the impeachment trial proceedings this week. The Senate convenes tomorrow afternoon at 12:30. Still ahead tonight, the transplant surgeon with a very personal connection to her work. We'll be right back.
Let's push it on the limit of our understanding.
Hi, neighbor. This is where we go.
Amazing!
Luna! This is where we go.
We're on the front lines of each story.
I can feel it rising. Like thunder on the ground. Dive into a world I know. This is where we go.
Changing.
This is where we go, This is where we go,
Are we celebrating? How about that? Wow.
Can you tell us what you know?
Turning back now to the race for the White House.
The State Board of Elections voted Thursday to set up a new election.
It must be a very emotional day.
The world changed in the blink of an eye.
Children are at the heart of this story.
And joining us for our Your Health segment tonight is Dr. Silke Niederhaus, Clinical Assistant Professor of Surgery at the University of Maryland School of Medicine and Transplant Surgeon at the University of Maryland Medical Center. Doctor, thanks for being with us.
Anytime.
You decided at age 11 you wanted to be a transplant surgeon.
And I was sure of it.
How were you so sure?
Well, it's a long story that kind of started when I was a 4-year-old. And at that age, I really loved playing with anything ambulance related, or like I had a little doctor's kit that I got for Christmas. I still have that picture. And honestly, the favorite thing in there was a bloody syringe. So I knew I was into medicine early on in my life without any reason.
Did it run in the family? Are you from a family of doctors, dentists?
I'm from a family of engineers. We're all Mercedes people. Everyone in my family has worked at Mercedes at one point in their life, and I'm the exception.
What do you drive now?
A VW.
Close enough. So as a child, you got sick, and it turned out that it was both kidneys. What happened?
Both kidneys, yeah. In order to have kidney failure, both of your kidneys have to fail. If you have one kidney left, you're actually quite a healthy person. So what happened to me was I caught a strep throat infection somewhere in the 2nd grade. And over the holidays, I started peeing wine-colored urine, red wine-colored urine.
Wow.
And, you know, eventually my parents found out, dragged me to the doctor, and they said, hey, your kidneys are not working like they should, and you need to be admitted to the hospital, and you need all this workup. And that's where it started.
You're a young woman, but kidney transplants, the technology, the ability to find donors have progressed so much in recent decades. How did it proceed?
Well, I mean, in 1986 is when I first got sick. And so for children, we try as long as possible to keep them off dialysis. So it was 1988 when they couldn't anymore, and I did peritoneal dialysis for 9 months. I was put on the waiting list after evaluation by a committee, and they said, listen, transplant is successful, but it's not ideal yet. And so I got my transplant 2 days before Christmas in Germany. In 1988, and I had 3 horrible rejections because the immunosuppression then wasn't what it is now.
And each of those requiring a fresh transplant, or you were able to suppress the immune system?
Each of those requiring 10 days of intensive hospital admissions and immunosuppression, followed by, after the 3rd round, or approaching the 3rd round of immunosuppression, the surgeon that I became good friends with, he did my transplant, actually recommending either we'll remove your kidney, and this will be it, or we can try this new experimental medicine that we've never given to a child, and it can be lethal. It can make your brain swell or your lungs flood with fluid, and you might die. 50-50.
Wow. What was the drug?
It was OKT3. It's now off the market because of its extreme side effects.
Wow. Mm-hmm. This kidney ultimately worked for 30 years. Mm-hmm. Which, is that the normal lifespan of a transplant?
No. A normal living donor kidney, which is the ideal donor kidney, lasts for on average 15 years. And many, fail before, and some last longer. So 30 years out of that kidney was an absolute miracle, because even the doctors who, you would assume doctors know a lot, after those 3 rejections, they said 50-50 that this kidney will last you for 1 year, and then you'll be back on dialysis and you'll need another one.
Well, glad you beat the odds.
By a lot, right?
And when the odds caught up with you, you were married?
Yeah, I was married. I ended up getting married in my early 30s and to a lovely husband. And we ended up having a son together, which is totally amazing. My parents never expected that, after everything I'd been through as a child. And he's fantastic. And then over the next 5 years after that, I developed kidney failure. So
you were going to, at this point, you were going to need another kidney.
Right.
And your husband was a match?
Almost. He was the wrong blood group, but he was tissue-wise a very good match. So we tried to see if we could do a cross blood group transplant, and I had too much antibody, so that wasn't possible. But he got worked up to be a donor in an exchange situation, so where you can have a living donor that's not a match for you, but they really want to have a good kidney for you. But then you have another couple who has the same unfortunate situation where they're not a match, and you can basically swap kidneys in the simplest version of that.
And University of Maryland's been a big pioneer of that. And I want to talk about some of these convoluted, cascading situations.
Yeah, they're fantastic.
It sounds like you have a busload of people who are able to benefit from it. But in the course of the workup on your husband, he was found to be a potential donor with one big problem.
Yeah, it actually was a life-saving problem. So the fact that my kidneys failed when they did allowed my husband to get worked up as a potential, paired kidney exchange type donor. And in that workup, he was found on his CT scan to have a kidney cancer in his right kidney. And so we found out the day that happened, which happened to be our 10th wedding anniversary, just, perfect timing. A month later, a little longer than a month later, he had surgery to have his kidney cancer resected, and he's cured now, by all means. So that and my kidney failure really saved his life. So he always says, I married the right woman at the right time. So
absolutely. Let me remind our viewers, if you have a question about transplants in general, kidneys in particular, perhaps, give us a call. We'll have the number up on the screen. You can also email your transplant questions, live questions at mpt.org. We'll have that up on the screen as well. So at this point, your husband is out of the mix as a donor.
Right.
You need a donor.
Right.
You're a doctor at that point.
Yeah.
What was the situation psychologically? What was going on?
I mean, it was fine because I have a rather large family, right? I have 2 brothers myself. I was thinking maybe one of them would be a perfect match genetically. They took a long time to get tested because they're afraid of blood draws. And, I cut people open. So I'm like, what is wrong with you? On the other
childhoods must have been slightly different in some way, but go on.
Yeah, totally. And then on the other hand, my husband's family is a really large family, and they were all tested to be potential donors, and some might have been okay for an exchange, but I knew I needed a kidney very soon. And these exchanges to set up can take some time. So I kept looking and looking, and in the end ended up doing what I recommend for people to do when they're looking for a donor and they can't find one, is to go on Facebook. And I just posted story upon story of, this little boy needs a mom that's functional, not one that sleeps all day. We need to find her a kidney. And I gave people two choices. I said, if you're willing to be tested, to be a donor, fill out this survey and send it in. I don't need to know if that's you doing it or not. Or alternatively, if you don't feel compelled to be a kidney donor, please at least share this message with all your friends and family and say, hey, my friend needs a kidney, could you help her? And by doing that, it has a snowball effect, right? Because all the friends that you share it with have those same two choices. And then it really opens up doors. So in the end, I had a list of people that were interested in donating to me. Many of them were ruled out.
Ultimately, who was ruled in?
Who was ruled in? My husband's father's dentist's wife. That's a link, right?
Absolutely.
Was ruled in temporarily, and then at the last minute was ruled out again. Something was wrong with her. And in the end, it was then an anonymous donor that had come forward and said, I just want to do good to the world and donate my kidney to anyone in need. And that donor happened to be able not to donate directly to me, but to start one of those chains.
And you participate as a surgeon in those procedures. So I guess, does the same person harvest one organ and then take it down the hole? So it's different?
No. It's different teams, right? Yeah, different teams, because we need to have, the donor surgery is the most scary thing we do, because it's the only time in the course of medicine ever that we take a perfectly healthy person and subject them to a medical procedure that has serious risks to their own life. And so we want to have a very dedicated donor team, and then we want to have a very dedicated recipient team, because it's a big operation and many things can go wrong. And then, the kidney gets brought from one room to the other when it's ready to go.
Here's an email question from a viewer who would like to donate a kidney. However, I'm 66 years old, in very good health, no medications. Why am I not eligible? I'm sure somebody could use it. What sort of factors would rule somebody in or out?
In or out, yeah. So 66-year-old perfectly healthy person would be absolutely able to donate a kidney.
Kidney has a little mileage on it, but that's okay.
All kidneys that we transplant have mileage on them. We have not made any kidneys brand new, right? So you have to remember that no kidney that you get is new. Living donor kidneys by far outdo any deceased donor kidneys that we ever transplant in terms of how well they work, how quickly they work, how easy the recovery is for patients, and how long they last.
In terms of how long they last, by a factor of what?
By a factor of 2.
Okay.
Yeah, for some deceased donor kidneys, by a factor of 3.
Let's take a phone call from Howard County. This is Mary. Mary, thanks for the call. Go ahead.
Yes, I received a kidney going on 39 years ago from my identical twin. And I'm very curious about if there's statistics on how long a transplant like that would last.
You received it, you were the recipient 39 years ago.
39 years ago from my identical twin.
You're the winner. That's great. We'll get you an answer on the air. Thank you, Mary.
Well, Mary, it's difficult to estimate data on how long a kidney will last. You have an incredible advantage in that you have a genetically identical twin. So the chance that your body would reject your kidney is much, much less than anybody else rejecting their kidney. And I bet they have you on a whole lot less medication than most people would be. But I don't know how old you are now. You didn't tell me that. But I think if you keep taking care of that kidney like you have in the past and no untoward infections or bizarre things happen to you, that kidney might last you for the rest of your life.
What is life like for people on the anti-rejection medications for a long time? I guess, do you still have to be on one?
Oh, yeah, for life.
It's better than dialysis.
By far.
But is it a big deal?
No. I mean, I've been on anti-rejection medicine since I was, 11. So for me, taking pills in the morning and taking pills at night is kind of just normal life. And other than doing that and getting my labs checked once a month, I really don't do much anything different. I mean, I have doctor's appointments. I follow up with my dermatologist closely because skin cancers are more common. I'm going to get my colonoscopy when I'm 50, as everyone should, but I'm going to be first in line. So you have to take care of your health. You have to take a little bit charge. But I think if you do that, you can very well succeed with a transplant.
In talking to patients and families, University of Maryland Medical Center, you must be able to communicate. I'm sure everybody communicates great, but you would have a special bond and a special way of reassuring people.
Yeah, I mean, it's different, when your surgeon's been there and done that. And most patients, when I tell them that, and they're like, oh, you did? Well, tell me about it. And I'm like, I'll tell you, you need to find a living donor, right? That's the most important thing out of all the teaching that I can do for anyone with kidney disease. Because if you have a living donor, you take your medicine as the doctor tells you, and you get your labs drawn as the doctor tells you, chances of success are great. There's still things that happen like viruses and things, but your chances of success go way up.
I just have half a minute. The great thing about kidneys is the good Lord gives you 2 of them, and you can run fine on one. There's other organs where that's not the case.
Yeah.
Talk about the need for donors of all types.
We need a lot of people to be donors. I mean, the national waiting list is over 100,000 people waiting for a life-saving organ, and 18 of them die every day waiting, right? And while it's nice if you have 2 kidneys and you want to step forward and be a donor for a friend, for anyone, I bet 1 out of 7 people have kidney disease. If you look around your friends, someone has kidney disease and needs your kidney.
Very good. Thank you for being here. Dr.
Sure.
Salkin, Niederhaus University Maryland Medical Center. Glad to have you Thursday at this time on Your Money and Business, Saving for Retirement, how to know if you're on track. Now, for all of us here at MPT, I'm Jeff Salkin. We leave you tonight with the sights and sounds from the Martin Luther King Jr. Day Parade in Baltimore. Thanks for watching. Have a good night.
By MPT to serve all of our diverse communities.